Alright guys, today we continue the mess that we've gotten ourselves into with the Comancheep project. Something's missing. So in my head, the idea was to run a tube just kind of parallel with the frame all the way across here, but now, looking into it a little more, it's not going to work out very hot with the shock right there. I could go around this way, not quite around this way, there's not enough room. But either way, I think it's going to be best just to cut this shock hoop off and redo it. Now that I get to looking at it, it's just going to be cleaner. I won't have to add here. I'll be able to make it the way that I want rather than trying to just fix what I have going on already. Before I cut the hoop off though, I want to take this measurement and write this down. Right now it's at about 28¼ inch or so. Yeah, 28 inches. But more importantly, what we're looking at is how much compression I have until this bump stops bottom out, which is about 7 inches. So when I go to put the shock back in, I just want to make sure that there's about 7 inches of travel upward and that the shock doesn't bottom out before the bump stops do.
Since I was a child, now it's showing its ugly face. What can I do? Music creeps into my dreams, wakes me into sweaty sheets, abandons me when nights died out. What can I do? What can I do?
Maybe not the best way to do it, but I just bent this power steering line down because it was sticking straight up above where I need the radiator to mount now, so I had to clearance that, and it needs to go that way anyway, so that was good. Alright, so next up what I want to do, there's the heat. What I want to do is to strengthen the frame, so my plan is to take a piece of tube like this, go right next to the frame, to the front bumper, bend it here, go down that way, and then I'm going to also weld it to the frame. And so what I'm doing now is making these pieces. They look like this, and you can see I've got one right here. So basically it just goes kind of like this, and I've got this one for the other side. What that's going to do is allow me to have a place to tie this tube in when it comes down. It'll tie right there, and then I'll add pieces in between. Alright, next up we need to bend a tube from there all the way to there with a bend in it right about here. I think I can do it with only one bend. Let me show you a few tips and tricks about this. So first of all, how do I know the angle that I want to bend? Well, I use one of these little gadgets off of Amazon. It's just an angle finder, and basically point that one that way, point that one that way. But you don't want to use that value because that value can be way off. In fact, it is quite off. So let me show you how to figure that. Instead of using the value that you get on here, get you one of these angle finders here. So you're going to put this on a flat table, zero it out right there, and then move this over here and you'll get 31 degrees. Now this says 35 degrees. So these are not very accurate, especially on obtuse or acute angles, which means very far apart or very close together. It's not accurate at all. The next thing that we need to know is how much tube to use. So one way you can measure is just to kind of put this here. You're going to kind of bend it down here, and we get about 52 inches, but you always want to cut extra, of course, so you don't waste tube. So we're going to go about 55 to 60 inches. And then the next thing you want to know is, where do I bend the tube? So that's where these come in handy, and I need to make a video on how to make these little templates basically. But you make a bunch of these, and in the bender you can kind of tell, because you can feel it, where the bend starts, and that's the start of the bender die. Well, you put marks in here, and then, so the closest I have to 30 degrees is 45. So you're going to hold this up about where you want the bend to be, which is right about here. And then you see that mark right there? I'm going to measure from that mark, if I can do this. I'm going to measure from that mark down to that tube, and I get 18 inches. So that's where I want to start the bend. Now I'm going to give myself another inch or two to cut the tube to clearance that. So we need to go about 19 or 20 inches, and that should give us enough room to make any modifications that we need to do. So 60-inch tube, start at 20 inches. That'll be where you put the tube in the die to start the bend, and then it'll be right about there. So I've marked the tube right here where I want to bend it. That's where I want to start the bend. Now this is the Pro Tools HD 105 bender. This is the die for 1 3/4 tubing is what we're using. 120 wall. So we're going to come in like this, and let's see. This, I've marked these before. 1, 2, 3, 4. But now I kind of prefer to do 1, 2, 4, 3. So this is going to go here, and then this here. All right. Now I can look down here and move the tube where I want to. It's air operated, so I have to turn the compressor on. We're going to tighten that up. Pull this tight until it locks in place right there. Make sure that we're still at the start of the bend. Now this little doodad here you put at 0 degrees. Make sure you always start at 0. Make sure that's tight, and we're going to start the bend. We're going to 30 degrees or so.
So I better use my legs and run, for it is too late to flee. I feel there is no other way. It's what I can do, what I can do.
When we get to 30 degrees here, we need to go a bit further because there's some snapback. Usually that's 4 to 5 degrees. So I'm going to go to 35 degrees. All right. Let it loose. Pull the pin. Pull this pin. Pull this pin. And we have a tube that is 30 degrees. Okay, next up I need to put this tube in here. Then I'm going to rotate it the way that I want it so that it fits tight to the frame. And then you might be able to see that I've already marked it right there. So you're going to take a Sharpie and mark where it contacts at a perpendicular angle, because now we need to notch that right there so that it'll fit in tube to tube, and then I'll cut the other side to match. I want to take that tube and I'm going to put it in my notcher. This is the Sync Notch 180 Junior, if you'd like to know that. Now I'm going to put it about 1/2 inch into the bit there. Now I need to get that mark at about straight across from the bit basically, so 90 degrees from vertical. On this notcher, the easiest way for me to do that is to draw a line straight back from where it needs to be cut and then just match it up to that point right there. Now we're just gonna go after it.
What I can do, babe, I want to be with you. But you know there's music too. Don't let jealousy alert you. Stop this, get right. Stop this, get right.
So pretty. All right, so now that tube will sit right there on that side, and then I can put this back right where I want it right there and mark this side to be cut. So I'm just gonna eyeball this side basically. I know that it's gonna angle down a little more once it goes in there. So what I need to do is kind of adjust for that angle. So it's gonna be more like that. That's the hardest part about doing these, is that right now the angle's different because when it comes down, the angle's going to change. So pretty difficult to figure out. You want to make sure that you cut it long and then just inch your way shorter and shorter. Look at that. Now if you thought I did that on the first try, you would be way wrong. That's the power of television. Took me a lot of attempts. Finally got this perfect on this side, perfect on that side. Now I need to cut some little doodads to go probably 3, 1, 2, and 3 to tie this into the frame unibody. Frame unibody frame. Tube frame body, whatever you want to call it. 1, 2, 3, sort of. Welding that was a pain in the butt. It's really hard to get in there. It's pretty tight, but I got it done. So that's all I can do for tonight. Next up, what we're gonna have to do is relocate the shock, top and bottom. Need to make a hoop for that up top. I also need to relocate the limit strap. I had to cover that up here, and it's also getting into my shock there, so that needs to be situated and figured out. I need to figure out what's going to hold up this, whether I want to come from over here and come down with the tube, or if I just want to come up with the tube here, and got to figure that out. Radiator. Oh man, there's all kinds of stuff to figure out. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, tell all your buddies about the BleepinJeep channel, and we'll see you in the next video.